Hello, everybody. I have Ian with me today, and we are going to be tackling the question of WTF is digital transformation today. Before we dive into questions that I have for you, Ian, can you give everybody a quick introduction?
Sure, it'd be my pleasure. Thank you, Emma, so much for having me today. It is my pleasure. My name is Ian Barkin. I was one of the co-founders of a company called Symphony Ventures, which was one of the earliest RPA pure play consultancies. So we helped enterprises understand kind of WTF is RPA. And in so doing, helped a lot of enterprises to transform and put plans together, develop centers of excellence, et cetera. And we had a lot of fun over the last 8 years helping shape the industry, the narrative in it, educating lots and lots of people, making lots of great friends as we went. So that's what I did. We ended up it was a great success story. Frankly, very proud of it. We ended up selling Symphony to a company called Sykes Enterprises Incorporated, and I was able to then serve Sykes as a chief strategy and marketing officer in their C-suite. And so that's what I did most recently. And now I am a free agent, wandering the world looking for ways to add good disruption and value, and frankly, just enjoying spending a lot of time watching the industry, watching folks like yourself do a spectacular job of being a storyteller and a communicator and educator in the industry for the industry. So thank you for the work you do and for giving me something good to watch while I've got some more free time to watch it.
Well, we're very pleased to have you here. I'm waiting for myself to slip up and use like the full sentence of what WTF stands for, and I'm not sure if LinkedIn would like that much. So I'm going to do my best to keep myself censored as we go into it.
I say we go as long as it takes to get you to slip up. So just each one of you it's up to your self-control. This is either a 5-minute discussion or a 5-hour discussion. It's all about when you slip up. So let's do that.
I've got a couple of small kids at home that will prove that I have slipped up a time or two based on some of their colorful language every once in a while.
That's just solid parenting, is what that is.
So to dive into the conversation that we want to have today, you mentioned the experience that you have within the industry. And I think while we were prepping for this session, you used the term historical dinosaur to refer to yourself as we were talking about the experience that you have. So pulling back to those prehistoric days in the RPA world, can you share some of your insights into how the industry has changed and maybe some of the trends and shifts and flows that you've seen over the years?
Sure. Yeah, it's funny. I guess I feel like a dinosaur. I suppose it's worth defining the sort of the era or the period in which I was the dinosaur, because I had to look this up. I didn't know this off the top of my head, so I deserve no credit for knowing these. But of the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous, the Cretaceous was the sort of the newest period. Jurassic was kind of in the middle. I feel like I'm sort of a Jurassic dinosaur because there were Triassic dinosaurs before me, who helped really define and shape the industry, who made it what it was, made it a place that I was able to explore and learn. But ultimately, what I mean by that is that I was able to, in the environment that I was operating in, which was outsourcing and shared services, I was able to lean on a set of capabilities to transform and add value in the environment I was in. And that was thanks to shoulders I was able to stand on of sort of the OGs, the original gangsters in the industry, who both developed the technology, came up with the terminology, and began to sort of to sprinkle it as a concept into this world of work that was so often talking about global arbitrage, talking about transformation on a sort of a process transformation perspective, like business process reengineering. And so that was the environment in which I was able to then find automation as an additional tool in the tool set. And it was pretty darn cool at the time, and worked. And then on top of those two very important foundational elements, I was able to, with some close friends and colleagues, build a company, build a team and to help shape the RPA services market as we see it today.
There's a couple of things to unpack there. Number one, thank you for doing your research into the dinosaurs. I felt a little like I was watching there's a PBS show called The Dinosaur Train that has occasionally made appearances in our house. So I felt a little like I was with the paleontologist on the show there.
I'm gonna show some sick creds right now and just say A. Apatosaurus, B. Brachiosaurus, C. Corythosaurus, D. Deinonychus. That's the alphabet dinosaur song from Dinosaur Train. I know the whole thing. I had, my kids are older now, but we had all the toys. I'm so saddened by the fact that they don't remember some of the details that I so dearly hold on to. So I remember Buddy and Annie, and I remember that. Yeah, I remember the whole thing. So thank you for referring to the Dinosaur Train.
Yeah, thank you for doing your research.
But whatever we're going to talk about, let's scrap it and let's just go into more detail on Dinosaur Train. An outstanding show.
Yeah. So knowing how you guys kind of were at the ground level of RPA and, when it was truly an emerging technology, and then over the course of the last couple of years, seeing that really transform organizations along with other capabilities and other tools that you mentioned, what have you seen as the digitally transformed organization look like? And what experience have you seen of how these technologies can really impact a business at its core in terms of how they operate?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think this is, you get no credit for these sorts of statements, but the only constant is change. Enterprises are constantly evolving and changing and transforming and becoming better. And what automation, or this class of automation, gave to us was yet another option, excuse, reason, and capability to look at ourselves. And so the digital enterprise, for now and over the last sort of 5 to 8 years, has been an enterprise that has taken that same drive to self-assess and to evaluate and to improve, to evolve, and it's added another set of capabilities to their tool set. Now, the challenge being, it was so fascinating. Automation and robots were so fascinating, and the clip art was so much fun, and the t-shirts were so cool to wear, that we took our eye off of some of the other fundamentals. We spent a lot less time than we perhaps should have remembering the lessons of Kaizen and Lean Six Sigma. We spent a lot less time remembering the inherent value of centers of, so centers of excellence, centers of quality, centers of just sort of focus for an enterprise. And so we sort of, there was a ripple in which we went to personal fascination, a lot of early, easy, low-hanging fruit deployments to try out this exciting new capability. But now what's so heartening is you're seeing all the messaging is, well, for the last few years, all the messaging has been about centers of excellence, about having structure and standards and process in place, educating the innovators in an enterprise to enable them to help both identify opportunities for transformation and then to execute on that potential by leveraging the technologies available today. So there's sort of been that evolution from like crazy fascination where people were just sort of trying to try this stuff, often without the knowledge of specifically IT, and most often intentionally without letting IT know, to more of a maturing process where enterprises realize that they need to be working in collaboration with multiple stakeholders across their organization. They know it works, so we don't spend time on proofs of technology or concept anymore. And now they're spending a lot more time trying to figure out how to put best practices in place and just a solid set of foundational rules and methodologies so that they can get to scale. They can get to bigger impact. That is what enterprises are still struggling to do today. The scale and the more broad end-to-end impact is elusive in many cases to a lot of organizations. So that's what we need to focus on next.
So how do you feel that this journey changes or evolves over the next couple of years beyond focusing on this structure and this capacity to kind of be more regimented in how we approach these projects? Is there other capabilities or technologies that you think will be pivotal in that? What does that look like from your perspective?
Sure. I'm going to use the word pivotable for now on because I like it better. So yes, we've entered with intelligent automation. We've entered a next phase of excitement and fascination over technology, and rightly so. It's exciting, but it includes and introduces a lot of what we were referring to as AI, but it's starting to become more defined. We're starting to understand the components of AI that are really about speech to text, or really about sentiment analysis, or really about machine learning and pattern recognition, or or analysis and sort of interpolation of process flow as it occurs in an enterprise. So that's all good. Intelligent automation really has supercharged the tool set, which supercharges the teams. But you have to put all these tools in context. So that's what's coming next is further sort of reinforcement that every one of these tools adds value, but we can't get so focused or fascinated by any of them, especially the new ones, because often the new ones garner the most of our attention, and yet they're the least deserving of that attention. They're just not ready yet. They're not enterprise grade. So there's a measure of what you should spend time on, what you should sort of include in your mature toolkit. And then it all comes back to the people in the process and the skills that they have, because enterprises can buy stuff real quickly, but the talent in-house to do something with it has a different clock speed. And there's limited resources out there. Everybody's racing to develop their own personal skill sets, which is also exciting. It's great to watch how many people take online courses and are taking advantage of the academies available to them. But we need some time for the skill to catch up to the tools, and then there'll be a sort of a future evolution of this digital transformation where we're comfortable with the tools in our hands. We're comfortable with the frameworks we're using to evaluate the art of the possible. And we're comfortable with the fact that this is a team effort, and that stakeholders from every corner of the organization, frankly, every single one, will be involved in every stage of the identification to the design, the execution, and the ongoing management and support of it. And so that will happen. That is happening. And that will make for better just adoption of the capabilities available today. And if we keep our head about us, it'll also make for better adoption of newer capabilities that come down the road.
I'm known for kind of making up words, and my husband refers to it as the Emma thesaurus. So welcome to the world of the Emma thesaurus.
I would buy that.
We would have to keep track of it, and there's a lot of them, but so maybe in a couple of years.
Okay.
But I do think it's very interesting that you brought up this idea that the technology can be acquired and purchased and probably implemented quicker than sometimes we can upskill our team to help adopt to this new world of work. I just recently had a conversation with Sam Best about the idea of citizen-led innovation and some of the ideas that are starting to float around about how an organization can really support that upskilling and support their team as we start to look at what the new world of working looks like, and how do you get there and what does that look like? So I'd encourage people to go check out that video as well. And, hopefully Ian will be back for more conversations in the future, but I really appreciate you joining me for the chat today. And for anybody that isn't following him, head on over to Ian's LinkedIn profile, make sure you check him out. And you were very modest when you started talking about the idea of intelligent automation without doing a drop for your book. So I will do it for you. If you haven't checked it out, there is a book called Intelligent Automation that Ian and some of his co-authors have penned and put out to help explain these concepts to executives or anybody that's really interested in learning more about this industry. I read it. That's part of why we've made a connection. So I encourage everybody to go check that out. It's a very great guide for understanding the basics and starting to get your feet wet if it's something that you're interested in.
Thank you for that plug. Yeah, I mean, that book is a good guide. The real drive behind it, sort of the passion that made the project come to fruition, was also our hope that it's a means to an end. And so we spend a lot of time in the book talking about the end, as far as can you employ these capabilities to allow you to unleash resource that you can then dedicate to healthcare, to the environment, to education, to just being generally being better global citizens. And so that was the drive. Thank you so much for plugging it.
Yeah, I will include a link as well. But again, make your way over, connect with Ian if you haven't. But thank you so much for joining me, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
If you're looking for expert tips on how to get started with your transformation, or looking to hone in on your approach, make sure that you subscribe to our channel to catch our weekly Digital Transformation Talk series, where we interview experts from around the world on how to make it happen.